What's up, guys? Welcome back to Fantasy Files Reacts, our new set of videos where we talk about our favorite things in various media besides books. So like movies, TV shows, video games, that sort of thing. So Gabe and I just saw a late night showing of The Batman starring Robert Pattinson, and I just really wanted to record a quick spoiler-free review of it because I just feel like I need to talk about it. Honestly, I'm not a huge Batman fan, but I've seen the movies, and the last couple of years, I have been super, super excited for this version of Batman specifically. First off, this movie was incredible. It exceeded all of my expectations. It was it was a very long movie, probably somewhere between 2.5 hours and 3 hours, and really felt like two separate movies, two separate storylines. And I'd be curious as to why they wanted to tell this much story in one film, but it was all enjoyable. Like I would have taken a 4 hour version of this movie. This is definitely the darkest Batman yet, with a Bruce Wayne that really feels like a product of Gotham. And Robert Pattinson was just really, really good at bringing this to life. It had more of a kind of slower detective noir tone. And we got to see Batman do a lot more investigating and case solving in this movie than we usually do. Don't get me wrong, there was plenty of action and stuff, but a lot of what he's doing is figuring out what's going on in this specific storyline, what all the different riddles mean and everything. So there's kind of two storylines that intermingle, with the Riddler teasing Batman with a huge body count, trying to take down the corrupt elite in Gotham, and kind of stringing Batman along from one crime scene to the next, and from one body to the next. And then we get Selina Kyle, or Catwoman's storyline, as she is trying to find her missing friend, and she kind of works alongside Batman doing this because for a while they have kind of mutual goals that they're both going in the same direction with. The storylines themselves intermingled really well, but there is a lot of plot here that's really easy to lose track of. So I highly recommend making sure you hit the bathroom before, so you're not leaving in the middle of the movie and missing a really important piece of the plot. The action was out of this world, by far the most brutal and violent Batman we've seen yet. The big chase scene in the middle of the movie was one of the coolest chase scenes I've seen in a long time. It was one of the best parts of the movie, and the Batmobile itself was so awesome. So this isn't Batman's usual high-tech Batmobile. He's essentially rigged up a Dodge Charger with a ton of like nitrous and a bunch of other stuff. And it kind of sets the tone for the rest of his tech in this movie, because it all seems kind of low grade when compared to previous movies and iterations. But I actually like that a lot because it makes it seem a lot more grounded and genuine. It feels like it's in more of a realistic Gotham, like something that would be in our time period, as opposed to like these, very high tech things that would be somewhere way in the future or whatever. Robert Pattinson is probably my favorite Batman so far. I think he brings a really broken and kind of fanatical feel to Batman. This isn't a Bruce Wayne who cares about making public appearances at galas or anything. This is like a dark, unhinged, recluse Bruce Wayne, who only wants to punish bad guys and try to save the city if he can. I also think that Robert Pattinson brought the perfect voice to Batman, not the almost annoyingly super deep, gravelly voice that we get from The Dark Knight, but more of an honest, deep voice with a bit of rasp to it. And I really appreciated this change from the former movies because I always felt like that super deep voice, like, just had to be straining for the actor and it just didn't feel genuine. But this feels like Robert Pattinson's voice, but just in a deeper kind of more gravelly way. But it just wasn't overdone in any way. We also have more of a slimmer bodysuit compared to the Dark Knight or Batman versus Superman. I never really liked the big, bulky suits, and it just seems like Rob was able to move around so much better in this one. We only see him as Bruce Wayne a few times, but he also has this just kind of this basic like hat and hoodie get up that he wears when doing like super sneaky infiltration work and riding his motorcycle and stuff. And I actually really liked seeing him disguised this way because it made me feel like he knows he doesn't always need to wear the bat suit in order to get stuff done. Like if there's a low risk situation where he doesn't expect to be getting shot at or anything, like he can just wear kind of this little hoodie outfit and still get some stuff done. It was always a little awkward when Batman would be doing like, you know, hacking or other stuff, and he's wearing like this big like bodysuit, and it just kind of seems out of place. And so I liked how they just brought this simple like hoodie getup into the mix. The villains in this movie were fantastic. I especially liked Colin Farrell as the Penguin. He just sold that character so much and brought so much personality. I mean, the Penguin already has a ton of personality, but Colin Farrell just owned this character and made it so perfect. Paul Dano as the Riddler was okay. I liked him a lot more when he's in kind of his militia suit that he wears for most of the movie, rather than when it's just him as a character, if you know what I mean. I was just a little underwhelmed with his performance when he's just talking to Batman as a person one-on-one. But he really wasn't that bad. It's a very minor complaint. John Turturro, I think is his name, was an amazing Falcone. Probably my favorite villain in the movie. I don't want to get into it too much because he kind of comes in a little bit more later, but he was definitely one of my favorite performances next to Rob's. Overall, this Gotham just felt super, super dirty and almost like if you've seen the Purge movies, it felt like that a lot. It's actually portrayed as like a super, super scary city, like all the time throughout the whole movie. This is not a good place to live in. And although there are people here and there who try to do the right thing, the movie really sold us on the entire city being extremely corrupt. And I just loved this aesthetic because, you know, it kind of goes back to, you know, whenever I read a fantasy book, I really like Grimdark, which is kind of this gritty, like no one is a hero kind of thing. And I really got that vibe from this movie. I just loved, you know, Gotham has always been a super dark city. It's always been super corrupt, but sometimes in the previous movies, you never really felt that way. I feel like certainly there were times where it did, but you know, other times there's people just going about their normal life. And in this movie, it was really like it was really like there are no good people. Like everybody is just a super bad person. And so I actually really like that a lot. Speaking of some of the good people in Gotham, Jeffrey Wright was an incredible James Gordon, and I seriously could not get enough of his character. I loved his back and forth with Batman and the trust that they have in each other. And that's something I should also add. I don't know too much about the Batman like timeline, but I got the impression that this is a Batman who has been at work for a while. Like this isn't like an origin story or anything like that. Like he's at least been doing this for, 6 or 7 years, I would think. He's even though he hasn't, it doesn't seem like he's met Lucius Fox yet. And I don't know where he comes in on the timeline. So maybe it's not as far along as I think it is, but he's definitely been Batman long enough to have a reputation with the Gotham Police Department. And, he just walks into crime scenes with them. They're not like super hateful or anything towards him. So I would guess that he's had enough time to kind of build up this reputation with the police that we would see in probably a later part of the timeline, I would assume. I think so. To talk about some of the cons, I think the main thing that I didn't like was the romance subplot with Catwoman. Zoe Kravitz did a really great job with her acting, but I just did not buy the romance between the two of them. There was no moment where I was like, oh, I hope they get together, or, that like, oh, they're meant for each other. And I just think that other Batman movies and properties did romance much better. Like, there's so much going on in this movie. There's so much chaos and destruction that is ensuing. And then there's just these really long scenes with Batman and Catwoman out of nowhere that are supposed to be building like sexual tension and romantic chemistry. And I just didn't feel anything during those scenes. And I think we probably could have gone without it, but I feel like maybe that is some sort of staple in superhero movies, that there has to be some level of romantic subplot. Like for any superhero movie I can think of, like I can't remember one that didn't have like a romantic interest. So they probably had to have that in there, but it often felt super out of place. And by the end of the movie, I was just like, I just do not believe in these two people together. The other thing I wasn't a huge fan of was just the very last scene of the movie. I feel like we could have ended it on a super like hyped up scene to get you roaring for the next film, but it kind of just had like this melancholy feel to the final scene that didn't fit the tone of the rest of the movie. And so, like I said, I feel like we could have left the theater all like hyped up for the next movie. And I'm excited for the next movie, of course, but the final scene didn't do anything to help that. I kind of left the theater like, yeah, I even looked over at Gabe and I'm like, I think there could have been a better way to end the movie. And the way the overall plot ended was fantastic. I really liked the way the main story came to an end, but just kind of that closing scene, I think Gabe and I were kind of like, that's an odd choice. Also, by the way, there's no end credit scene. So don't sit there for like 20 minutes like we did waiting for some final scene that is teasing the next movie. Yeah. Overall, I think this is my favorite Batman movie so far. I of course really liked The Dark Knight and all that, but this one, like, I don't know. I'm literally itching to go see it a second time. And if any of my friends want to, I'll happily go. I'm really glad we got this super dark Batman that is very different tonally from the other movies. This does not feel like a Marvel movie. I know this is DC, but I in this world of Marvel movies that we have so much of, this doesn't feel like your Marvel superhero movie. It really feels like something completely new for superhero movies, much like what the Joker did. And I'm really hoping this turns into a new trend in this genre, because I think superhero movies have needed to get shaken up for a long time now. And this movie, it's just so, it breaks the genre so much in the best way. And I think everybody should go see it if you're even remotely interested in superhero movies. It was honestly like, I would bet that if somebody isn't usually into superhero movies, but they are kind of into like a detective noir kind of story, or like fans of Sin City, I think fans of Sin City would love this movie. I very much got those vibes from it. And yeah, anyway, you guys should go see it. If you're watching this review, I'm sure you're already interested in the Batman. It's probably one of the most hyped movies right now. So you're going to have a great time. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. If you're wondering what's next for Fantasy Files Reacts, Gabe and I have a reaction to the finale of Euphoria coming up in a few days. And we're going to go see Spider-Man No Way Home this week, so we might do a reaction to that. And I'm currently playing through Horizon Forbidden West, so I will do a review of that whenever I get closer to the end of the game and can give a more nuanced opinion of what I think of it, although I am enjoying it a lot so far. I also just finished Sword Art Online, the anime, if anybody's interested. So I'm considering doing a very big reacts video for that. If you guys would like, let me know down in the comments if anime is something you would like us to cover on the channel, because Gabe is really, really into anime, and he's recently gotten me watching more and more. So if you guys would like to see us do videos on anime, just let us know. And if you're here for the first time because you were looking for a Batman review, we usually do like long form discussions on various fantasy books. So if that's something you're interested in, if you like Wheel of Time, Dresden Files, that kind of thing, then definitely stick around and tune in for our other content. To keep up with all this content, just hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell to get notified. You can also follow us on Twitter at Files Fantasy to keep up with all my deranged midnight meanderings. We'll see you in the next video, and until next time,
I am vengeance.